Hello everyone, I'm LazyGrouse and today we're gonna take a look at Inquisitor's More Ogres mod, which adds some cool new ogre units to their roster. First we have the Boom Guts, which is an ogre unit that is covered in barrels full of explosive materials, so they're essentially an ogre bloated corpse. They have a very small health pool and no armor, so they're pretty easy to pick off with ranged units, but if you get this bad boy into an infantry unit, that unit is deleted. They're rarely a good addition to an army since they're destroyed in the explosion, and they're easily countered, but damn if they aren't fun to use. There are a few things as satisfying as getting a really good detonation in a big blob of infantry units, nuking all of them in one go. The Blood Vultures are a really fast flying unit with Vanguard, so they're very good at getting around the enemy army and attacking their backline. They have a pretty mediocre damage and a pretty low melee attack, so they're not great against other melee units, but if you get them into something like archers or an artillery unit, it's usually enough to deal with them, or at least occupying them without taking much damage, since they have a pretty good melee defense, and since they're so very fast, it's pretty easy getting them into advantageous fights. The Gatebusters is a unit of ogres that decided that battering rams was a reasonable weapon, and to be fair, it's pretty badass. And it does seem to work for them because they have a great weapon strength that outclasses both Iron Guts and Man-Eaters in damage, with a majority of the damage being AP no less. But that is if they can hit, because they don't have a great melee attack. They're also very squishy with a medium armor, low melee defense and the lowest total health pool of any ogre infantry, so they're very much a glass cannon unit. The Mountain Blaster is a Stonehorn unit with an Iron Blaster on its back, so if you thought the Iron Blaster was strong, try putting it on a Stonehorn and see what happens. The Stonehorn do lose a couple of points of melee attack and defense to the normal Stonehorn, but not a lot. It's still a really strong unit against infantry in melee combat with a good armor, damage and bonus versus infantry, and the artillery is an Iron Blaster, so it does ridiculous damage. So I think it's a bit too powerful considering it's on par at range with the ogre's strongest artillery, and it's almost as good as their strongest monster in melee, but if you don't mind that it's a bit OP, it's pretty fun to use. And finally, it seems like some ogres went to Norsk because they got the Norsk Feral Mammoth, and it's an anti-infantry glass cannon. It's got a good charge bonus and damage with a 34 bonus versus infantry, so they can absolutely rip through infantry units. But they have a really low armor and melee defense, so they're pretty squishy and will rampage easily. They do have a very large health pool, but without any mitigation, that will go down fast against a bad matchup. Their leadership isn't great either, so they'll rout pretty easily, and their melee attack is pretty low, so when it's not allowed to use its great anti-infantry, it struggles to deal damage. So to get the most out of the Mammoth, you really need to maneuver it to get a favorable fight, since it will decimate infantry, but most large units and anti-large units will counter it hard. And that's all the units from Inquisitor's More Ogres mod, and I think most of these fill a pretty interesting niche in the ogre roster that they didn't really have before, so overall, I think it's a really fun addition to the roster. But that's all for today, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and consider leaving a like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!